it's less than a decade to human level AGI, 5 to 15 years to a super intelligence from here in my perspective. And I mean, you could lay that out with much more rigor than I have, but we don't have much time, and I've written about it elsewhere. Is that good for humanity or for sentient life on the planet? I think it's almost certainly good for us in the medium term, in the sense that I think ethics roughly will evolve proportionally to general intelligence. I mean, I think the good guys will usually win because being pro-social and oriented toward collectivity is it's just more computationally efficient than being an asshole and being at odds with other systems. So I'm an optimist in that sense, and that I think it's most likely that once you get to a super intelligence, it's probably going to want to allow humans, bunnies and ants and frogs to do their thing and to help us out if a plague hits us. And exactly what its view will be on various ethical issues at the human level is not clear. Like what does a superintelligence think about all those foxes eating rabbits in the forest? Like, does it think we're duty bound to protect the rabbits from the foxes and make like simulated foxes that have less acute conscious experience than a real bunny or a real fox or whatever it is? Like there's certainly a lot of uncertainty, but I'm an optimistic about having beneficial, positive ethics in a super intelligence. And I tried to make a coherent argument from this in a blog post called "Why the Good Guys Will Usually Win." And you can, I mean, of course, that's a whole philosophical debate you could spend a long time arguing about. Nevertheless, even though I'm an optimistic at that level, I'm much more ambivalent about what will happen en route. Like let's say it's 10 or 15 years between here and superintelligence. Like, how does that pan out on the ground for humanity now is a lot less clear to me. And you can tell a lot of thriller plots based on this, right? Like, so suppose you get early stage AGI that eliminates the need for most human labor. Okay, the developed world will probably give universal basic income after a bunch of political bullshit. What happens in the developing world? Who gives universal basic income in the Central African Republic, right? It's not especially clear. Or even in Brazil, where I was born, right? I mean, you could maybe give universal basic income at a very subsistence level there, which Africa couldn't afford to do, but maybe the Africans go back to subsistence farming. But I mean, you've got certainly the makings for a lot of terrorist actions, and there's a lot of World War III scenarios there, right? So, and then you have the interesting tension wherein, okay, the best way to work around terrorist activity in World War III, once you've got human level AGI, the best way is to get as fast as possible to a benevolent superintelligence. On the other hand, the best way to increase the odds that your superintelligence is benevolent is to not take it arbitrarily fast, but at least pace it a little bit, so the superintelligence is carefully studying each self-modification before it puts it into place, right? So then the strategy that seems most likely to work around human mayhem caused by people being assholes and the global political structure being rotten, the best strategy to work around that is not the strategy that has the best odds of getting fastest to a benevolent superintelligence rather than otherwise, right? So there's a lot of screwed up issues here, which Sam Altman probably understands at the level I laid it out here now. Also, actually, because I mean, he's a very bright person who's been thinking about this stuff for a while, and I don't see any easy solutions to all these things. Like if we had a rational democratic world government, we can handle all these things in a quite different way, right? And we could sort of pace the rollout of advanced intelligence systems based on rational probabilistic estimates about what's the best outcome from each possible revision of the system and so on. You're not going to have a guarantee there, right? But you would have a different way of proceeding. Instead, the world is ruled in a completely idiotic way, with people blowing up each other all over the world for no reason, and with the government's unable to regulate very simple things like healthcare or financial trading, let alone something at the subtlety of AGI. We could barely manage the COVID pandemic, which was tremendously simpler than artificial general intelligence, let alone super intelligence, right? So I am an optimist in the medium term, but I'm doing my best to do what I see as the best path to smooth things over in the shorter term. So I think things will be better off if AGI is not owned or controlled by any single party. So I'm doing my best to make it such that when the breakthrough to true human level AGI happens, like the next big leap beyond the ChatGPTs of the world, I'm doing my best to make it such that when this happens, it's more like Linux or the internet than like OS X or T-Mobile's mobile network or something. So that's sort of open, decentralized, not owned and controlled by any one party. Not because I think that's an ironclad guarantee of a beneficial outcome. I just think it's less obviously going to go south in a nasty way than if one company or government owns it. But I don't know if all this makes me really an optimist or not. It makes me an optimist on some levels and timescales. And I don't think that I disagree fundamentally with Josha on any of this. The only thing he said that I really disagree with is I don't think 20 cold winters in a row are going to wipe us out. It might wipe out a lot of humanity, but we've got a lot of technology and we've got a lot of smart people and a lot of money. And I think there are a lot of scenarios that could wipe out 80% of humanity. And in my view, very few scenarios that will fundamentally wipe out humanity in a way that we couldn't bounce back from in a couple of decades of advanced technology development. But I mean, that's an important point, I guess, for us as humans in the scope of all the things we're looking at. It's sort of a minute detail.
All right. Thanks, Ben. And Josha, if you wanted to respond quick, feel free to, if you have a quick response.
Yeah. I used to be pessimistic in the short run, in the sense that when I was a kid, I had my Greta Thunberg moment and was depressed by the fact that humanity is probably going to wipe itself out at some point in the medium term to near future. And that would be it with intelligent life on Earth. And now I think that is not the case. There will be, I'm optimistic with respect to the medium term. In the medium term, there will be ample conscious agency on Earth and in the universe. And it's going to be more interesting than right now. And it could be discontinuities in between, but eventually it will all be great. And in the long run, entropy will kill everything. I don't see a way around this. So in the long run, I'm, if you want to, pessimistic, but it's maybe not the point.
If you enjoyed that clip, then the full podcast is out right now. You can click around here. Enjoy. Subscribe to Theories of Everything to get notified of upcoming podcasts, as there are new full-length podcasts every week on the topics of mathematics, physics, consciousness, free will, and AI.